Welcome back to the channel, and as the season ends, we are heading into the off season. And what is the off season for anything other than conjecture and wild predictions? So today we are predicting the ratings for the top 15 or so players in college football 26. I will attempt to do this in a statistical manner, but EA does play favorites from time to time, or just outright inflates overalls to appease players. So I will try to include that in the underlining theme as well. If you like what you see here, be sure to stick around and hit that sub button, and let's get into it. So EA outsourced the ratings of players this past season to Pro Football Focus, or PFF for short. PFF announced they looked at previous year stats and assessed potential improvements and came up with the list on screen. A ton of familiar names on the list like Heisman winner Travis Hunter, and as well as Lombardi and Outland winner Kelvin Banks Jr. at 14th highest rated. So we will be doing the same here. We are also assuming most of the notable names will be headed to the NFL, and at the time of us creating this, players like Quinn Ewers, Jordan James, and Jeremiah Love are still undecided and will not be included, but if they did decide to return, would ultimately be in the top 15 on this list. But before we get into the top 10, I wanted to showcase the guys I feel like have the potential to be on the top 100 list EA will release this year, but just didn't have enough to crack the top 10. Feel free to tell me your thoughts on anyone I may have missed or who you disagree with down below in the comments. This isn't 100 players, but these are the guys who I had thought about throughout this process. Starting us off with a familiar name if you keep up with the top G5 players, and that is Caden Salter, formerly of Liberty, who has transferred to Colorado to follow up Shadur. Salter has had a very good seasons, but did fall off quite a bit this past year, but with the constant improvement the Buffaloes have seen, it is hard to imagine he can't reach those highs again. This may be a reach, but I firmly believe the notoriety as well as him attending Colorado may bump his stock, and I predict him to be a 93 overall and a 3-point jump for him is overall at the end of the last season. Moving from the East Coast to Texas, we see Kevin Concepcion at 14th on this list. KC had a stellar season in 2023, amassing over 800 yards, but this season was hindered by an early injury to Grayson McCall, his starting QB. Now with the Aggies, Concepcion will be option one for sophomore QB Marcel Reed. With the potential still there, we predict that we will see a bump in the overall from an 89 at the end of this year to predicting him to be a 93 overall for next season. For the 13th spot, we have our very first Longhorn on this list. We have the soon-to-be true junior linebacker Anthony Hill Jr. He was able to rack up 107 tackles and 7.5 sacks this season and will do even more damage for his likely final year in college. With this dominance against SEC competition, he is a shoo-in for the top 15. We have him rated at 93, improving from an 87 where he was at the end of this year. At 12, we have Jeremiah Smith from OSU. The things he did to Oregon in the Rose Bowl would have been illegal 100 years ago. Tallying 187 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, he single-handedly could have won the game with that stat line. EA's last update before this prediction had Smith at an 84 overall. EA may release an update just to make him go higher before the end of the year, and only his second season he will be rated at 94 in my opinion and should be higher than that, but being so young will hurt him here. If he has another outstanding season, we may see him be the first true 99 overall player for the launch of college football 27. Up next at the 11th spot, we have the most talked about backup in history. Well, probably. Arch Manning will be in the top 15 players this next season. He has shown glimpses of just how good he can be in Texas's offensive system. And he has showed not only arm talent, but an absolute wheels as well. If he wasn't good, which he is, he also has the illustrious Manning name attached to him. I think with the little we have seen and what he showed in camps and in high school, the redshirt sophomore will be ranked very high, improving upon his 88 overall we saw this season. I have him slotted as a 94 as well. After a great season and making the playoffs, Evan Stewart will be back for another season of college ball. This veteran senior will be a huge help for the new QB up in Eugene. He's an electric player and touts over 1,500 receiving yards for his career and looks to break the 1,000 mark in the season as option number 1 for the Ducks. After being rated a 90 at the end of this year, he should gain at least 4 points in our predictions and start as a 94 in 2025. Following up Stewart, we have the Clemson Tiger, Peter Woods. Woods had only 3 sacks this last season, but for a team historically known for their defense, and with the recent firing of their DC, there may be an injection of new life into this team. He has the potential to go in the first round in 2026, so look out for him with a very highly rated. We have him as a rating of 94 for college football 26. At the 8th spot, we have the diamond in the rough, the Dylan Thieneman, the safety from Purdue, slots in right here. Thieneman had a stellar season for the Boilermakers as he went for 104 tackles after putting up 106 in 2023. Thieneman may be the only player on the Purdue roster over an 85, but he well deserves it. We have him slotted in as a 94 as well. At the 7th spot, we have one of the more surprising fill-ins, and that is Carson Beck, who announced he is transferring from Georgia this coming season to the Miami Hurricanes. While he did have a down year this past season, he still has the potential to turn it around after he rehabs. He ended 2024 as a 93 overall, and for next season, I see him staying relatively the same, improving only 1 point to a 94. Last season, I predicted a lot of QBs to be in the top players for the game, and I was let down a little bit when we only had a few in the top 20, but this year I am pretty confident that this QB will be in the top 10. Drew Aller will return for his final season in Happy Valley, and after leading his team to a Final Four berth, could see him be even better. NFL scouts still rave about him as a top draft prospect and has the potential to be a first QB off the board type of player, but for next season, we have him rated as a 94 overall. In the 5th spot, I have the last former G5 player on this list, Mekhi Hughes. He recently confirmed that he will be moving out to Oregon for the 25-26 season, so I'm excited to see how they utilize him in their offense next year. After a great season helping the Green Wave with over 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns, he was rated a 92 overall. We have him improving a little bit here to a 95 for next season. In the 4th slot, we have the RB1 for next season, the golden child of the Cal Twitter universe, Jaden Ott. Ott was only able to rush for a little bit over 300 yards this season, but dealt with a nagging ankle injury that significantly reduced his production from 1,000 yards a year before. Ending the season, he was rated a 93 overall, the highest returning running back for college football 26, so it's easy to assume that he'll be on the top of our list. I have Jaden Ott sliding in as a 95 overall. The 2 and 3 spot both ended this past season with a 92 overall, and both are returning for another year. The first out of these 2 spots is Harold Perkins Jr., the linebacker returning for LSU. He was hurt most of the season, but it was a unanimous first-round pick for next year's draft and would have gone in the first round this year probably if he wasn't injured there. This will be his final year in college, and I am sure he'll be rated in the top 3. I have him as a 95 overall player. Next up is the other guy we just previously mentioned, the best O-lineman in the game for next season, and that would be Parker Brailsford from Alabama. He's been in the running for numerous lineman awards this season and will return for his final year in college. The center will likely be rated a 95 as well. Coming in at number 1 is pretty obvious if you know ball. This is the former Alabama member, the current Ohio State safety, Caleb Downs. Downs finished his 24-25 season at a 95 overall and has the potential to be the number 1 pick in next year's draft. He has lit the stat book up the past 2 seasons with 180 tackles as well as 3 interceptions. If he ends up not being the top dog, he will be in the top 3, no doubt. I would rate Caleb Downs as the highest rated player in the game at a 97 overall for next season. And that is it for our way too early predictions for the top players in college football 26. Let us know your thoughts below, and if you enjoyed, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss a video as we near in on the release of college football 26. I appreciate y'all being here, and I hope to catch you in the next one.